Hey friends, what is good? If you ever wanted to do a window schedule from an IFC model and you didn't really know how to do it, or maybe you were scared you have to pay a license for that, then this is your lucky day, because I'm going to show you how you can do that using a free and open source tool called Bonsai BIM, which used to be called Blender BIM. For that, all you need is actually to have an IFC model. Then you have to install Blender and Bonsai BIM as an extension. If you don't know how to do that, just check out on my channel because I have many videos on this topic. Cool. I'm going to assume we already are there at this step where you opened your model. Now, all you have to do is to go to this Quality and Coordination tab, and here is where we are going to prepare our window schedule that we are going to pull out as a spreadsheet. Okay, but before that I'm going to do something else because I always like to do that. Actually, let me bring this one, Brave. All right, and let's get back. Like I said, spreadsheet, import, export. Before I export it as a spreadsheet, I'm going to tweak it in the browser because it's the most effective way, right? So here we have to check load from memory if we want to use the existing model. We can also do these schedules from other models and from more of them. But in my case, I want to see what I'm getting out, right? Now I'm building these templates. So what we're going to cover is to look and see what information are we going to get out, how I'm going to do that using the web interface, and in the end, how I'm going to export it as a spreadsheet, and also extremely important, how to save these settings as a template that we can reuse later on. All right, you can see here something called CSV attributes, add a search group and CSV attributes. Now these sections are extremely important. In the first one, we choose what we are going to filter on in the model, right? And in this case, we don't have anything. I know I want the windows, right? I'm not looking for anything else at this point in time. So I'm going to press on add a class, and we are going to settle for IFC window. And to test if this works or not, you see that when you press on select, it should select the entity or the class that you have chosen. And to double check if we really have only windows, you can press on Shift H and you can filter only on these objects. And we can see instantly that indeed we have only windows. We don't have any doors or slabs or whatever, right? So this is extremely important. Cool. Now, the next step is to tweak our spreadsheet. And we do that using these CSV attributes. So how do we do that? Each thing that we add here as a CSV attribute, like each new row, is going to become a new column in our spreadsheet. So let's start with something, right? But before that, actually, let's decide what information are we going to pull out from this model, right? Because I think it's quite important to settle on that as well. So we have IFC window, the class. We don't really care about the class. No one who is going to use these windows will need this, right? They need names. Let's see if these names are good enough. Object type. The name, I think they are going to be unique. So the name is not something that we can group based on, but we see that this object type, it's kind of what we're looking for because we want to be able to group different kind of windows, right? We don't need each unique window because I would assume that this type of window have the same information. So we want the name, that's one thing, or the object type, the window type, and then we can go for the overall height and width, okay? So let's start with this and see how it goes, and then we can adjust based on that. Cool, so I'll just have to add on a new CSV attribute. And in this case, I aim for this here. You can see that everything, all this information here, it's under the attribute section of the information tab of your objects, right? And these are attributes. And there is a big difference between attributes and property sets, which are kind of the most normal or the most popular kind of information we have in our IFC models. Meaning that these attributes are fixed, like you cannot add another attribute, you can change their names, you can add and you can choose to use or not few of them, like in this case overall height or overall width, but you cannot add another one. If you want to add any other kind of information that it's specifically to your model, then you'll have to use property sets and properties, right? So this is the main difference between them. So in this case, for attributes, there is a very straight up way to access this information, and that's it, just to type their names. What we see here in this column, there are the names of the attributes, and these are the values of the attributes, right? And in this case, here on the left hand side, we have to type in the information that we are looking for, and this is the name of the column, how it's going to show up in our spreadsheet. Okay? Cool. So now let's start with this, which is called object type, right? So I'm just going to type object type. It's extremely important to follow the case rules here, because if you just type with lowercase, it will not work. So it's extremely important. And in this case, let's just type it window type. All right, and now you see I have a button here called Open Web UI, and that's what I'm going to do. And we will see this right here. And you see we get actually 2 columns, and we didn't ask 2, right? We asked only 1. Well, that's because this tool is extremely powerful. This functionality in Bonsai, it's using a utility tool called IFC CSV. And this tool works both ways. Meaning that right now, if I'm going to change few names here, if I get it out in a spreadsheet and I change few names and I import it back to my IFC model, you see here, import to IFC, is going to apply that information to our IFC model. So powerful is Bonsai BIM. That's what it means, native IFC authoring tool. Meaning that it's not just reading, it's not just an IFC viewer, it's an IFC authoring, meaning that you can alter the information, you can create, you can model from scratch. It's amazing, right? And this is happening at global ID level. So this, what we see here, it's a global ID. But we don't need that. In this case, I just need a list of the windows in this model with specific information, right? So let's disable this for now at least, okay? To do that, we have to go here in this gearbox and to just uncheck this box. And that's it. Now, if I go here and I press one more time on Open Web UI, there we go. We got exactly what we wanted, only the window type. And we see that we get some repetitions here, right? Of course, because there are more of them. We have like 4 of this and more of this and more of this. So a natural next step would be to group them, right? We can do that too. We have some buttons here, and the first one is sorting, and I'm going to sort ascending just to have like, this is a good thing to do. And then grouping, right? And in this case, I'm going to group, just choose group there. And then I'm going to open the web UI. And now we see that we have 3 types of windows. Not so many anymore, right? But something important is missing here, right? And what is that? Pause and think for 1 second. I'm sure you guessed it, right? Is the number of windows. How many of these windows do we have? Because, yeah, we want to know. If we don't know, then how do we know how many to buy? Or how to price the project, right? Cool. So the next thing we have to do here, or recommended, we don't have to, of course, depends on your use case. Like, it doesn't matter where you sit, you can collect this information, the information that is relevant to you. But I think most of you who are looking for a list of windows, for a window schedule, will need the number of the specific windows, right? So let's add a new row. So each row in this CSV attribute space becomes a column in our spreadsheet. And this time, let's use count. It's exactly as it is, lowercase, it's extremely important. And how I'm going to call this column, right? Cool. Do I want to sort? No, I don't want to. Do I want to group this? No, I don't want to group by the number. It doesn't make any sense, right? So now I'm going to press one more time on this, and let's see what do we get. Oh, we get 1, 1, 1, but that's not correct, right? What am I doing wrong? Let's see. Oh, I remember. In the grouping, actually, we have something called sum. So this is what we have to use. We have to use the sum. Now we go back here and we get the proper counts, right? We see we have the 4, this one, 4 of this, of the first type, then we have 8 of this and 35 of this, right? Yeah, so we are on the right track right now, right? Let's see what other kind of information. Like I mentioned, I want to take the overall height and overall weight. Because they are attributes, all we have to do is just type exactly as they are. So add one more. I'm going to type in here overall height. Do I want to sort by this? Yeah, well, do I want to group it? Yes, I want to group this. This is important. I want to be able to group them by height and width, because maybe they are varying, right? Especially the width. The height most probably is the same, or it should be, I guess. So now I'm going to add one more and type in overall width and width, and let's group this and let's see what happens now. You remember we had 3 columns, 3 rows, sorry, and we still have 3, because it means that all of these have the same width and height. Okay, and we see, yeah, like I was guessing, we have the same height, but we have double doors and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why we have wider doors, right? Makes sense. Cool. So far we have accessed information only from the attributes. Now let's look a bit deeper into this. Let's also take some other information from properties as well. Not only for this, but also the count, right? The count, it's a function, I think. Is not a specific thing in IFC. It's just something that works with IFC OpenShell. Cool. The predefined type doesn't really help because we just have the window. So most of the time, these names are going to be maybe at the predefined type or at type itself as well. This could have been also another thing. Yeah, because we have type as well. Now let's go to properties, okay? To access properties, it's a bit different than attributes. It's not as straightforward. So let's look for something that we could use, something useful, right? What could be something useful? I see a lot of information here which I don't understand because it's German. I do know Norwegian, but it's not quite the same with German. But let's look for something more familiar, because I guess they should have something like fire rating or stuff like that. Yeah, there we go. So they have some common information here in the pset window common, which I want to know if indeed there are some internal windows or all of them are external, right? So this is something important. Both of this information are important. And let's see how do we access that. Well, also quite straightforward, just that it's a bit different because we don't just type the property, right? What we do here is, let's add that first, and then let's type, we have to type first the property name, the property set name, which is this one right here. This is this inside is external, is a property. Thermal transmittance, it's also a property, and these two are values. And this, it's a property set, pset window common, which is grouping all these specific properties, the windows, into this, right? So property set, it's a group of properties in a simply way put. Okay, so to access this, we have to type first the property set name and then a dot and then the property. So first this name and then this, and then we are good to go. So pset, and we have to type exactly how it is here. If you miss the casing, then it's not going to work. And also the characters and everything. So pset window common, then a dot, and then is external. Do we want to, yeah, let's be able to sort them, and let's also to group them. And let's see, did we get anything new? No, actually, no. Let's see what's happening. Yeah, this indeed it's false. Let's see. Where is it? Here. Okay. So we spotted a mistake, right? these are for sure exterior windows. Like, look, they are here. Doesn't make any sense. They should be true, right? So we spot the mistake, which we can do two things about. We can either provide feedback to whoever created this model, or we can fix it using Bonsai. In this case, that's not the purpose, right? I just wanted to see if I also have different ones, but it is what it is, and we work with what we have. Then let's also do the fire transmittance, the thermal transmittance, sorry. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to, no, it's okay. Let's just type it, okay? So again, pset window common dot thermal transmittance. Thermal transmittance. Do I want to sort this? Yeah, I want to be able, and I also want to group that. So let's do it one more time. And what do we have here? Looks like all of them have kind of the same, right? So we don't get different values here, because if we get, for example, two doors of this type with different thermal transmittance, or if they are external or not, then we are going to get two different rows, and they are going to be ungrouped, meaning that if you have only one, it will show as one here and the other three grouped together. So I just wanted to show you the other level of grouping, right? Because grouping meaning putting together similar information, identical information, when it's matching 100%. So if there is another information about the same kind of object, it's going to be added as a separate row. I hope that makes sense, guys. If not, please leave me a comment and let me know about this. And by the way, like, if you enjoy this kind of thing, I do have this free community called BIMvoice Academy, and I run this 7 days openBIM Kickstart challenge, which is quite exciting, I would say. Many people are giving a lot of positive feedback on it. You're free to go to school.com BIMvoice Academy, or just search on Google BIMvoice Academy School, and feel free to join. I'd love to meet you in there, and yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about my challenge. Good. Let's see, what else can we do here? I kind of like what I have so far. Let's say that I don't want more than this, and I want to settle for this. And there are two things I want to do, okay? There are two things. I want to, first, I want to I want to export this as a spreadsheet, and the second one is I want to save this as a template, which I'm going to use again next time I want to export another window schedule. And of course, sometimes it's not going to match 100%, but that's what we do. We adjust, right? But we have already a starting point. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to start from scratch again, right? Which is not very effective or efficient. Cool. So let's go here. Now, here in the gearbox, we have something called output format, and we have by default the web one, because it's the best way to start, the best way to custom everything before you go. Because if you just export it to a spreadsheet from the get-go, you're going to have more clicks to do, and that's going to take you more time, right? So that's why I'm trying to show you the most effective way. So now you just click here and you can choose Excel. I'm going to choose CSV, which is easier for me to open on a Mac, but it's the same way. Is the same thing, right? You're going to see the same thing as me. So just choose whatever you want, and now you see that the button has changed from export IFC to web to export IFC to CSV. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go in downloads, and let's call this window schedule. What day? 25th from November. So now I'm going to open this in my computer or MacBook, whatever you want to call it, and there we go. You see, exactly like in the browser. There are not so many types of windows, so yeah, but larger projects, this can become quite stuffy, right? So that's exactly how you do it. Of course, if you don't want to group or sort different things at Bonsai level, you can also take everything and do that fixings in Excel if you want to. You don't have to. I show you how you can do it properly. I think yeah, the best is to do it with templates that you have in Bonsai, so you avoid repeating work, right? That's the most effective way to do it. And now we have one last thing to do, and that's to save our template. And that's how you do it. You go here at the top and you will see close to the gearbox, we have two icons. One is for save CSV settings and one is to load CSV settings. And we need to save these CSV settings. And I'm going to go again here. And we see this is a JSON file, and let's call this window schedule 25th November. Cool. Now, let me show you how this works. I'm going to reload this model. I just reloaded the model, and when we go here to our spreadsheet import export, we'll see that we don't have any settings anymore. Everything disappeared, right? So I'm going to go here and press on load CSV settings. I'm going to go to downloads, and let's take this date, this one, and let's load it. And there we go. We got all our settings, including where did we want to export this to, right? So if you want to double check, let's change one more time this to the web, and let's do this. And you see a new tab is opening and it's showing the same information. Cool, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, of course, leave me some feedback. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you other recommendations, other things that you would like to do when it comes to Windows, if I missed any kind of important information. Oh, by the way, I think this is extremely important. Let me mention this as well. In case that you have a preset or a property with spaces, use quotes. Okay, use quotes so it will work, because if you don't use quotes, it will not work. Let's say like you have thermal transmittance with space here, it will not work. So you have to put quotes here and quotes at the end. The same also for preset. Let's say you have window of, this is going to be like this, but if you have your custom property set with spaces in it, you have to do the same thing. So you put quotes here and before the dot. And now IFC OpenShell, BonsaiBIM is going to interpret this as one word, okay? So yeah, this is extremely important. But yeah, like I said, please let me know what you think, if you like this, and tell me also what other kind of videos would you like me to make in the future. Like, this is extremely important, and for you as well. Like, if you want my content to be useful for you, the least you can do is actually at least to leave me a comment and tell me. I cannot read your mind, right? All right, see you around.